Hello everyone and welcome to the Silver Review, Season 2 of Silver. I can't believe I'm saying that, incredible stuff indeed. And once we are now live down under then for the Australian Grand Prix. And it's the first time in Silver's history that we're having a official calendar after, I got to say, I didn't really like the random calendar because I had no idea if I was coming or going, to be honest. Of course, we did debut in Russia, didn't we, this time last season for Silver. And I got to say, I've watching this back, I'm having really fond memories actually. Paynes was on a cracking start to the season as well. Murphy's also in the mix as well, along with Andre and German as well. German's been promoted from the bronze to the silver division. I was really looking forward to that. And we've also got New Potato, the bronze world champion, who is now in silver as well. I'm really looking forward to see what those two can do against the silver draw as well. I've got Alex sat next to me once again. Then it's I think he just loves doing these, don't he? Alex, of course, I know that you're not the silver admin as such, but I would just like your expert opinions, if I may, about this grid and what you was expecting for silver this season.
Well, I'm not the admin, but I always watch it. So yeah, it's always good to watch the silver guys having it put on our show. So and they did, especially in this race as well. First race of the season. I was expecting more of the same really from last season as well, from the initial season. Clean racing as usual, best league out of the lot for the racing and racecraft. But again, like we saw, is it's going to throw up a few interesting races. Like we saw a few interesting racers as well, like we saw with Paynes taking the command and lead actually, and doing really well in qualifying. Again, all of these guys are brand new to the 2020 game, of course. Nobody got here early or anything like that. So only 2 weeks to prepare for this race, and it showed in some people's abilities and things like that in the racing. But overall, I think started off silver with a great show.
I gotta say, we're so harsh, haven't we? 2 weeks to get used to this game after 2019. Good gosh, there. As we just watch it, oh goodness me, we've got Kingzone win at Mark's Mill there, getting a bit too close for comfort there, brothers. I find it very strange to see a silver Mercedes these days. Of course, we're so used to the black one anyway. Of course, we had the silver one for the first two races in gold and silver, and I think we had it in bronze as well, if I'm not very much mistaken, as well as Baz there. Going into the Armco there quite heavily. There was FIFA, who we sit in quite a lot in the gold reviews, also in silver as well. He's everywhere, isn't he? We're on board there with Murphy then as well. As I think that in my mind, Murphy was the early favourite here in the Silver League, but I thought that New Potato was going to be very much right on it from the get go. But in Australia, he was a bit behind the eight ball. He was, and unfortunately, he was the first retirement actually the season in silver as well. Unfortunately, as Murphy's trying to go on the outside there with German. I was really loving these two going wheel to wheel throughout the course of the season. I think that we didn't see it enough, in my opinion. There, as Wilson is currently leading at the moment. There, Wilson, you'll see later on in this review, he's a completely different driver to last season. Remember last season when we was doing these? I think that Wilson was just trying to really find himself. As we've had a bit of debris come off there, I wasn't sure if that was off Wilson's car. Good gosh! So we've got Paynes there, who is very much on the back of Murphy as well. There's this was getting very fraught there. He's only halfway through the first race. Good gosh! And only still 18 cars left in this race as well. The attrition rate was quite low at this stage there. I'm going to bring Alex in again now because he's the expert racer out of the two of us. Alex, was you surprised by how many drivers were still going here in the Australian Grand Prix? It's quite a brutal race for the drivers to start the season.
Yeah, it's a difficult track. I wasn't surprised, no, because I know what the silver drivers are like, and I've seen them race last season, and they've all done a great job. The new guys coming up, German and Potato, are basically sort of picked for back-to-back promotions, really, back into gold. So we'll see later on at the end of this review what happens with that. But yeah, I think unfortunate for New Potato in this one. But again, I think it's most of the guys who had issues in this race, I think, had issues in turn one and two. That sort of spits you out if you get it wrong, isn't it? And yeah, it didn't end well for either of the two who've unfortunately been knocked out of this race. But the dreaded chicane, they claimed another victim, Tormai Rosso, who has been a bit unlucky this season, but we'll see more of him later on as well.
Yeah, I was going to say that you took the words right out of my mouth there. Yeah, turn 1 and 2, or 11 and 12, then absolutely brutal chicanes, isn't it? It really is. You need a firm rear, don't you, to get around there? Marshmallow and Wilson there also getting very close. Look at this, 4 cars down to the Brundleton. Goodness me, that. And Dave, unfortunately, drawing the short straw there, of course, as David only come into silver towards it in the last season. Found it a bit difficult to begin the season off as well. So we've got Sirius Mushin there, who really, I've got to say, that was a very opportunistic manoeuvre there on turn 5. Brilliant stuff indeed there from the Racing Point driver. Itchy there in 10th position as well. Then we've got Gurman, who's now right behind Ghost Recon. And Ghost Recon then, I think, he felt a bit, he was struggling a bit during some of the races this season, but I felt that he had a much better season than he did last season, but I think he was a bit too hard on himself throughout the middle part of the season, in my opinion. As we've got Kingdom there, who he was in the top 8 last season. Unfortunately, didn't have a very good start to this season. Murphy coming across the line there to win the first race here in Australia. Payne's in second position there. Oh no, wasn't it? He dropped right down. V Todd there, who got no penalties, and same with Baz as well. At the beginning of the season, Baz had literally no penalties at all. Then he was so clean, and V Todd there starting off strong then, and you'll see throughout this review that 2 Racing Point drivers are absolutely fantastic stuff indeed. Then is Andre in third position as well, and I must say then it was a brilliant start to the Australian Grand Prix as well. And as Knowles said then, he was not at all surprised by the lack of retirements out, because they are quality drivers in silver. They really are indeed then. And yeah, I got to say, Mondays is never the same anymore, is it, with silver? I got to say, I used to dread Mondays, not anymore with silver racing. It's brilliant stuff indeed then. For just taking a look at the final classification then from the Australian Grand Prix as well, as a new potato and the bronze champion then, not starting off too well then in the silver division as well then. As just now going into the drivers and the constructors, and Murphy taking a good advantage so far, and of course getting fastest up as well as the win. Then VTOP then in second position, and it's as you were really for the first race, isn't it? Mercedes and Racing Point at top of the standings as well. As we go into the next race, and of course AlphaTauri and Ferrari, both the Italian teams there, not getting off to a good start in Australia then, as we jump right to round 7 in Monaco, the jewel in the crown of ALR and Formula 1 as well. Mark Smello, this event, Mark Smello then, he was absolutely phenomenal. We're going to bring Nosey in again, because Nosey is our resident Monaco expert, and Mark Smello on this event there was absolutely mega 17. If I'm not very much mistaken, he got fastest up, he got pole position, and he got the race win as well. How difficult is that to do around Monaco? It's so narrow, isn't it? But how do you master it?
It's the best track in the game. So I think Mark Smello was saying the same thing, really. I think he's from this point of the season, he started to knuckle down and get some good points, and clearly he mastered the track beforehand, and just really took it to everybody else in the race. It was up to them to try and catch him, wasn't it?
It was, and I don't think many people were successful at this stage. And we've noticed, you may notice that we got Infamous Pillars driving in here in Monaco as well, as he took a full-time seat for a few races in silver, which silver was kind of a story of several halves this season. That's what I really enjoyed season 2. Then season 1, then you do remember the dominance of Glock there as they fly over me. Good gosh, I still always duck on those camera shots, and I really shouldn't, should I? As Ghost there is doing a Kimi Räikkönen, and I think it was Räikkönen and Perez there in 2013 now. I don't think Sirius Russia was going to let Ghost do that there. They were 2 teammates as well. I like the dynamic in the Williams last season between these 2, but of course they are now now on the opposite sides of each other as well, as Andre comes into the pits there. Andre seems to start off well in races, but unfortunately he does get himself in a bit of a pickle every now and again in the Red Bull, as he is changing the nose cone and coming back out of the pits as well. But going back to Infamous Pillars, as we're on board with him now, then him and Murphy was having a good old battle, I think, from the championship. Murphy was starting to wander off in the championship at this stage of proceedings then, but I think that Pillars, as he's just gone to the wall and to back, was really starting to put the pressure on Murphy, and I think that we were seeing signs where Murphy was starting to break in that Mercedes as well. But I think this race was not a race for Pillars there, one that he would not like to remember at all then. So he's having a couple of trips into the pits as well, because I think he only just come out the pits on that before he went to the barrier then as well then. As just always Wilson there, almost crashing in the tunnel then, but a lot of drivers have crashed in the tunnel over the years then, and I got to say, every time I go through the tunnel, I'm very happy as well. Woods is doing his best impression of Ricardo Patrese there in 1982, but unfortunately that's going to bring out the safety car, if I'm not very much mistaken as well, but I think that was due to Equals and Wilson coming together at Rascas there. The attrition rate on this one was starting to become really high then. It's very difficult to get to the end of this race in Monaco, isn't it, Naughty? It's all about concentration, isn't it, towards the final stages?
Concentration is key. Well, I think that's the same for every race, to be fair. It doesn't matter what track it is, but more so at Monaco. Like you said, with the walls being so close all the time, you need to keep your mind focused on the race at all times, just because you don't know where the next wall's going to hit you.
Indeed, then, and I think that was a great manoeuvre there from Ghost. Actually, that was a cracking manoeuvre. I've watched this quite a number of times, but I keep thinking he was just going to go to the side of Sirius Rushmore. That was fantastic, isn't it? Mark Smell, then, even with a safety car, he's just pulling back out and back away from Gurman, and Gurman was having a difficult season up to this point. And then Mark Smell coming across the line, he was the Monaco King in silver, and I think he was the Monaco King for all the 3 divisions actually in ALR. He was mega that race, and really impressive stuff indeed then. So we've got a blank screen as well then. It's there are the I think I was just waffling away there, and which is standard stuff, isn't it, on the live version. Mark Smith taking his first victory in ALR with Gurman second then, and that is the first Haas 1-2 of the season, and that ain't the last either. Haas were absolutely incredible in this campaign, and so we're Murphy getting on the podium as well. V Todd once again, he was a serial points collector, wasn't he, in this season? Brilliant stuff indeed then. Infamous Pillars there unfortunately had a couple of unscheduled stops there, which dropped him down into 10th position, as well as we're just looking down the standings then. I might bring you back in again if that's okay, Alex. I think at this stage of the season then, it was looking like a battle between Murphy and Infamous Pillars then, and we will see the dynamic change later on in this campaign. But who was your money on at the halfway stage of silver? Was it Pillars or was it Murphy?
Well, I couldn't put a penny on either of them, to be fair, mate. I couldn't pick. Obviously, with Dan having more races under his belt, it was in his favour, as you can see in the standings there, and in Mercedes' favour as well. But the gap was going to start to close anyway, and I think we'll see this in the next race or two.
Indeed, then, and I think round 10 onwards, this completely changes the state of silver, and I got to say, this really starts to become an absolutely incredible championship. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Unfortunately, Mark Smell, the King of Monaco, was out before he even started in this one, and you can see that the French track is. I got to say, I hope I hope your eyes are adjusted okay then, because there's a lot of blue and red around this circuit as well. It's a bit of a car park, really. This one is not the most exciting track on the calendar, but I think in league racing, it's actually I think it's got a bit of a wrongful opinion by the drivers, and maybe in real life it's not the most exciting track. But in my years of covering ALR, we've had some fantastic races over the years. Would you agree with that, Alex?
Yeah, I think it's an underrated track. Actually, I don't mind it as a league racing track. Anyway, obviously to watch in real F1, I think it's sometimes a bit tedious. But actually, I think, like you said, in league racing overall, and especially in the ALR races as well, I don't think it's been that boring of a race, has it? And there's always quite a few opportunities for overtaking as well, which is we'll see later on in this clip. But I think it gives a lot of opportunity for overtaking, makes it more entertaining for us to watch, really, and us to race.
It is indeed, and I do wrongfully think that I might have a bit of a slower pace race in ALR when it comes to the French Grand Prix, but I'm never right on that occasion, which is great for you guys. But unfortunately for me, I'm a little tired at halfway through the race in ALR. I gotta say, it's a brutal schedule for me, as I can hear all you all in me and all the comments there as well. But I absolutely enjoy it. It's fantastic, isn't it? And the French Grand Prix is definitely no exception as well. Look how dark and cloudy it gets overhead as well. I remember remember in both races of ALR Gold and Silver, I was getting really excited about this rain, which I don't think never turned up, to be honest. This was the first race as well, I might, from what I remember, of Nude Potato really, well, it's the second race, I should say, because I had a good race in the Dutch Grand Prix, but this was the first race where Nude Potato there really started to show his form from bronze. I remember he won the Bronze World Championship at this race in the final, well, the second to last round in bronze, wasn't it? Brilliant stuff indeed in season 1 there. So just watching Ghost there, just pushing King's Zone there. Oh, goodness me, maybe a bit too far there. Oh gosh, there is that. No, it's Torma Rosso, and unfortunately for Torma Rosso, a bit of a spoiler alert here. He doesn't score any points since round 3 in Vietnam then, which is a shame there because Torma Rosso is so quick, but he seems to have a lot of DNFs, doesn't he? And that's kind of half the game there. It's just surviving the races, as Nosey spoke about. The concentration is key, isn't it? As we just got Bernd Molander collecting a Gurman as well, as Gurman there absolutely perfected that, didn't he? Safety car came out, he just come out of the pits there, and he's on fresh tire as well. And I think lost Nude Potato the advance at this stage. You can see then this weekend as well, Exile and Pillar swapped race cars, didn't they? As Exile got into silver as well then, and I think he enjoyed himself in silver, and Pillars went up to gold as well. We didn't see much of Pillars in gold, unfortunately, but Exile in the silver championship, I felt that he was a really good driver in gold, don't get me wrong, but I think silver, he enjoyed himself more. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think made the switch into Ferrari, for silver, and I think since then he really kicked on. He's definitely a point scorer, clean racer as well, really good on track etiquette as well, and racecraft. So yeah, it was good to have him in the Silver League and bringing his expertise into the Ferrari as well.
It was indeed, and I think Ferrari at this stage, then when they lost Pillars, and they were second in the constructors as well, as we've seen a Ghost doing a beautiful drift around, I think it's turn 11 now. It's brilliant stuff indeed there from Ghost then, as we're just coming across the line. So look at this, we had a great old scrap between the two Renaults here. We've also got Gordo as well. Gordo will also be featuring a lot in this review later on there, as he took a trip there. I think that's a shortcut there from Gordo. I don't think he's allowed to do that. No, I think he might have thought he's on the test day, but I think Gordo later on in this review, you'll see how far he's come in this league. It's been brilliant to watch as well, and that's one of my delights to seeing is watching drivers really grow. Then we'll talk more about that in the Bronze League as well. But I think Gordo is a good example from the Silver League of how in such a short space of time as well. I think he's only done 12, 13 races in his silver career, and he was brilliant he was brilliant at the end of the season, and he just started to really find his feet and really started to get used to the racing against these guys and wheel to wheel. Then Kingston going on the outside then of Painter. That was a beautiful manoeuvre there from Kingston. Great stuff indeed there. Unfortunately though, for most of his silver season, then he was at the bottom of the table more often than not. Then Kingston just couldn't get the season off to a start, could he? In the silver division, unfortunately. Goldie had a bit more of a successful period, but I think overall we'll be very disappointed. With his campaign. And as Pains and Kingston, I've got to say, getting very friendly with each other, aren't they? Goodness me, banging wheels there, going out turn 1 and 2 there, and I know I got to say, that's quite brave stuff. I probably would have backed out of it by now, or I would have caused an airplane crash. I probably would have done both, really. And there's Pains there going on the inside. Then I was really enjoying this battle. It's good stuff indeed. Then it's not just battling at the front end; it's also battling in the midfield. So it's absolute fraught there. Every point counts in silver, doesn't it? Now it's the middle division there, and you do not be relegated to bronze. There's nothing wrong with bronze. I got to say, I do enjoy bronze, then, but of course, you want to be in the highest tier you can be, and that is what all the drivers are here for. And then look at that then, as he was on board Paint, and he was a meat sandwich there, wasn't he? Goodness me. Or maybe a Mercedes sandwich, actually, of course, with the pink Mercedes as well as the black Mercedes as well then, as Paint and Kingston just couldn't leave each other alone at this stage, could they? When you have battles that go on lap after lap, Nosey, how difficult is it just to keep your focus there, and how difficult is it just to keep your composure?
Well, it is difficult, of course, or difficult in any race against any person, whether you're at the front or at the back, anywhere. But you just need to make sure that you're leaving enough space for the other driver at all times, as we got the racing point just going off track for a bit. But yeah, making sure you leave enough space, keep it fair, keep it clean, and it will just lead to a better experience overall for both the people participating in the battle. And I think we've seen in Silver, especially last season as well, or including last season as well, that the battles are all over the grid. It's not just for the top steps; it's for the low points. Even outside the points, the battles are all over the place. So it just shows how close these guys are in this division and how well they race.
I absolutely agree with that. It's brilliant, isn't it? It's not about just winning, is it? It's also about it is about just winning, really, isn't it, in theory? But of course, it's also about watching the battles from my point of view, and for, of course, all our viewers as well, battling up and down the field. It's just as important as the battle for first position there. Gurman there, that was his first Grand Prix win of his silver career, and he goes on him and Haskell on an absolutely fantastic run of form then, and he does break a lot of Glock's records, which I didn't think was going to be broken. Of course, Glock never won the amount of races that Gurman won in a row there, because Glock seems to win a few and then then dropped off, of course, last season's silver champion. But this was a turning point for Gurman, and you'll see in the championship, and this is he's already jumped up 5 positions with his first Grand Prix win as well. New Potato was leading them, but he hadn't won a race yet, and his form seemed to be fluctuating. In the constructors, Mercedes are still leading with Ferrari second, but you'll see that the fourth place team Haas are really starting to come on strong. They're 42 points behind. Remember that, because later on you're going to see that they're going to be a little closer than that then. So we jump on to Singapore now, and at round 16 then, of course, we've seen Monaco, now it's Singapore as well then. I think that the silver drivers are really good at the old street circuits then, and I think that's why they're your favourite league, Nosey. Just as I say, that gamer's facing the wrong way down into turn 1, but so that wasn't good timing there. But Nosey, I think that's why you like silver, because you seem to be a very good street racer as well.
I was talking about street circuits that I don't know, they make it more interesting, don't they? I think overall. I mean, I'm not saying that France is a non-entertaining track, but we can always get some more entertaining racing around a street circuit, especially like Monaco, Singapore, and Baku, which I think probably some of the favourite tracks for Gurman, as we've seen them do pretty well at these ones. It is. Singapore is always going to be a tough track. You don't know what the weather's going to do, of course. I think most of the silver races were actually dry races this season, which was lucky for them. Of course, it's always dynamic, so we never know until we're in the session what we're going to get. But everyone did a great job around this circuit, and it's a tough one. I suppose it's the longest race of the season in terms of the duration that you're actually racing on track.
Oh, it is indeed. I think I was quite shattered after the 3 races of ALR gold, silver and bronze then, but of course I would not change that for the world then. Just watching Cyrus Mushman, and he was on a very strong season at this point as well. You see that Liam Yez, of course, Gurman's a new teammate at this stage as well, and I got to say Gurman's had some very strong teammates over the course of the season. Of course, he had Mark Smello, who had that incredible race at Monaco, and then we've got Liam Yez, who's stepped into his position there and doing a good job there in 8th position at the moment then, and just watching Jake Slayer going up the inside of Cyrus Mushman there, and leaving that rear wheel in there, and causing Cyrus Mushman to run out wide there in turn 7. As we're coming down at Raffles Boulevard, I think it is, and as we got Jake Slayer there, just not letting Cyrus Mushman go at the moment. And then we've also got a couple of bronze drivers in here as well, and they're just making a casual appearance here in the silver review. And so I've got to say, Cyrus Mushman there looked a bit hot under the collar there, Noel, so they just flung it in there against Mike.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to get on with his race, wasn't he, Serious Mushroom? Shout out to Serious Mushroom and V Todd in the racing point. This season's been absolutely incredible for them, I think, and they've both had some really good races. I don't think either of them have actually won a race in silver this season, but they've both put on a good show, and really good to see them at the top of the standings towards the end of the season as well, as we'll find out in a bit. But I think Serious Mushroom a bit underrated last season, and I think he has really cracked on and got to grips with this game, with the new game as well, this season, of course, and it shows in the standings.
And you see then New Potato coming out of the pits now then, of course the bronze world champion, and then I think he was having a very much up and down season, but I agree with that. Cyrus Mushroom is a seriously underrated driver as well, no pun intended, of course it's a pun. I've been doing it all season, haven't I? I'm appalling. So just watching Gurman there, who's still leading at the moment, but we've got Murphy there who's just flying through the field, getting past Rempo, and then V-Todd also getting involved as well. I was loving this as well. I got to say, I quite quite like this race, and I'm glad that Dan chose this to go into the review, because I was loving seeing bronze against silver. So unfortunately, maybe that was a bit too close for bronze and silver there, but we'll leave that one to one side, shall we? That was really poor timing from my part, as we're just watching Frisky Biscuit and Rembo going side by side down into the old Singapore sling as well. But yeah, Cirrus Mushroom, they're very much underrated, isn't he, as a driver? He did really well on the Williams team last season, and I think he outperformed the car on a lot of occasions. Gurman taking another victory, and this was really at the stage of the season where he was, where I was saying, and it's not going to be long before he wins the championship. But how wrong was I? New Potato was second, and a great drive from New Potato. That was his strongest performance in silver up to that point as well. Nico only performed in a couple of races in silver, unfortunately, but he definitely had the pace there. Wilson, we haven't spoken much about Wilson yet. Wilson was brilliant this season. His clean racing, and once again, you see there, no penalties at all for Wilson. I propelled him up the standings quite nicely, and it really came apparent, especially in the later races there, that Wilson was definitely a contender for that promotion spot into the gold division, and it was because of his clean racing as well. He was solid and consistent. Not spectacular, but you don't need to be spectacular, do you? Cirrus Mushroom in a very strong 6th, and Racing Point 7th, VTOD 7th as well, and those double points there really were helping Racing Point in the constructors standings as well. And I got to say, I was quite impressed by the lack of retirements actually in the Singapore Grand Prix. As Nosey said then, it was the longest race of the season in terms of time, and not many retirements there. Gurman had a massive 105-point lead at this point over New Potato there, and the battle was between New Potato, VTOD, Wilson and Mushroom for that final promotion spot as well. Look at that then. Haas was 4th last time out, wasn't it? I think it was like 43 points behind. Now they're 108 points in front. Alpha Tauri moving up into second as well. It's so close, wasn't it, between 3rd, 4th and 5th and the constructors. We jump on to round 18 now as well then, and of course Nosey was keeping us on our toes as well then. This was one of my favourite races of all time in ALR there. Of course, as Nosey did mention that Cirrus Mushroom has not won a race yet, but of course he didn't want to spoil the surprise. Of course, Cirrus Mushroom has an absolute blinder around here, as he comes from, I think it was 16th on the grid if I'm not very much mistaken, right up there to really contest this race. And you see that he was just unlucky for VTOP. Wrong place, wrong time there, as Liam was looking so strong at the first stage of this race. Well, and unfortunately there he half spun it as well. Japan in serious wet conditions at Nosey, and this was like a 94 Japanese Grand Prix, and how they got through laps till lap 6 and in these heavy conditions there with only one retirement is beyond me. Have you had experiences in the wet around Japan?
I don't think I have, but I'm just looking at it now and I'm thinking I can't think of anything more challenging. So I was going to say, like you said, one retirement so far, 6 laps in heavy wet conditions. I think everyone's doing a fantastic job in this race. I would, in terms of the actual ability of the drivers, I think this showcases it, because it's very tough to drive around this track in the dry even sometimes. So to do it in the wet as well, a third of the way through the race already, with only 3 retirements, and we've got some spinners coming off now. But I think it was it really showed that the silver guys have got the right elements to put on a good race, and obviously there's a couple of bronze guys in there as well. But the silver guys mainly were just they obviously know each other quite well. They were battling pretty well as well, and the conditions sort of threw it all together to make it one hell of a race.
Oh, it really was indeed. I enjoyed this one from start to finish. I do love a bit of rain that really throws the race into doubt there. And you see Troy getting off as well. And I think that Troy there is just come on very strong later on in this race. There was Murphy there was visiting the scenery, wasn't he, in the Red Bull as well? Of course, Murphy was really back in the title fight as well at this stage as well. So he didn't want to lose any more points than what he needed to. Brandon there was showing flashes of speed there, like he did in the Italian Grand Prix as well. Unfortunately, he needs to just maybe calm himself down a bit more to get to the finish there, and he would have had more points under his belt as well. But it's very difficult, isn't it, as a Formula 1 driver, or as a driver of any sport, really, isn't it? You've always got to go for it, haven't you? Because if you don't go for it, you're not a Formula 1 driver, are you? As you see then in Liam there, having a good old scrap with Brandon as well. And Brandon seems to be the cork in the bottle there, because we had a couple of drivers on the wet tyres. Gurman was one of them, Brandon was another as well. It was definitely intermediate conditions there, albeit there was so much spray out there. I couldn't believe it was intermediate tyres at the time then. I was absolutely astonished that these guys were keeping the shallow groove shallow groove tyres there on the track there. And look at this, they go for the 130-yard there, and that just shows that wet tyres there for Brandon. He had to brake into the 130-yard there, whilst Exo was just easing off the throttle, and that was the damage done there as well. And Red Bull there, oh dear, she's had a big old smash there in the centre of the track there, and Vital unfortunately has been involved. Vital was in a very unlucky position at this stage of the race there. He was doing very well, and unfortunately he was getting involved in other people's accidents there. Gordo having a great drive. This is, I think, one of Gordo's best races of his career there. He really shone in the wet here in Japan, and he is currently fourth from Now. We've just seen Ayrton there, who's a bronze resident, along with Mike as well. Then they were having a good old scrap there, Ayrton and Mike. It was good stuff indeed there. Itchy in a sixth position as well. Here's Gurman, who's now on the right tyres, and he's having a good old battle with Baz as well, as Baz seems to was playing the one-man band, really, wasn't he? As he was the only McLaren driver scoring points, and at this stage of the season, it was Williams against McLaren, not to finish bottom, really. They didn't want the wooden spoon, did they? Gurman, a great manoeuvre there on the outside, going to the spoon, though, as that just really showed his championship class. This was the first race where mathematically Gurman could have won the championship, if I'm not very much mistaken, and Cyrus Merchant now leading the race as well. He just absolutely perfected the strategy. He really did. He went under the radar, Cyrus Merchant did, made himself indeed then, but he was being chased down to the end of this race, as you just seen Gurman there, and this is his, and he was really kicking himself after the race there, Gurman having a crash there, and that was the first time in, I think it was 8 or 9 races where Haas had not won a race then, was it? And it was all down to Liam. So Cyrus Mushroom really wanted to stop the rot, he did stop the rot there. He won his first Grand Prix of his career in the silver. Fantastic stuff indeed there from Cyrus Mushroom. An absolutely epic drive there from 16th on the grid, I think it was. It was indeed then XR, who has got 8-second fastest up there, but as great as he is, I don't think he's that good. Cyrus Mushroom now, brilliant stuff. How he fended off Liam now. Remember, Liam was a 2-time Grand Prix winner at this stage as well, and Potato finishing in a strong third. Then Gordo, fantastic stuff in fourth, and with Murphy in 5th position as well. Then Nosey, Cyrus Mushroom there. You did speak about how underrated he was then, but I think that was his coming of age this season. He deserved that win, didn't he?
Yeah, first win in ALR from this season and last season, and it really just shows in his position here in the standings at P3, 134 points. He's cracked on from last season, and just shows how good of a driver he is.
It really was. I enjoyed that as well. And of course, Cyrus Mushroom was quite was downplaying that as he felt that Liam would have got him, but I wasn't too sure about that, to be honest. He did a very good defensive drive. It's not always about attacking; it's also about defending as well. And once again, we're back in Mexico. Of course, we was on the high of Emerson winning the World Championship, wasn't he? And of course, we was once again wondering if Gurman was going to win the title there, because Murphy was hanging on by his fingernails, really, wasn't it, to keep himself in the championship. But this was also a day where Haas could have won the constructors as well. Liam had the perfect start there and really was stretching away from Mike in second now. And we also had Potato as well. There's a car in the end, and I completely forgot about that. Oh gosh, I think I had to put that in there. I do love a good crash there, but I forgot about that. His car there, who was, I've got to say, on an explosive debut at ALR. He was also in gold as well, as we got Potato and Gurman getting a bit too close for comfort there. Both the bronze rivals once again there, showing that they are really good racers. They really are. And I think a situation like that, I would have probably been in the wall then. So good 70. Then Murphy there coming through, trying to go on the inside of XR. Then of course XR is not going to be letting Murphy through on that occasion, but Murphy has so much more traction at that stage. That's fantastic, and he's just breezing by the moment, isn't he? Murphy is. And then as we got Rembo, who's trying to defend as hard as he can. And there's I think 3 DRS zones around here. Do you think that's too many for Mexico? It seems to cause a lot of overtaking, and it's too much overtaking a bad thing, though.
No, I think it makes for an entertaining race and more overtaking, of course, which is the whole idea of DRS, isn't it? So, yeah, I think the more DRS zones, the better. The problem is if you put it on a corner, it causes some issues with the car and the aero. So, the more straights that you've got on the track, I think the more opportunity it is to put a DRS zone there. I think some other tracks could add another DRS zone here or there, and again, just to improve the overtaking. And I think Mexico is quite an entertaining track to watch.
It really did. I'm glad you said that as well, because I got to say, Mexico. I think Mexico in all three divisions was brilliant, wasn't it? It was amazing as well. I'd love to watch Mexico every day of the week. Then, as a Potato, then almost taking a bit of the grass with him there. As once again, the Potato is being the thorn in the Haas's side. Then here, as goodness me, that was getting very close to the profanity buzzer there. This was just watching New Potato on the outside of Liam there, but I think that at this stage, then Haas was in such a comfortable position there. They didn't mind if Potato was in there or not, but Potato was on alternative strategy at this stage. And we've got a couple of shenanigans going on between Gordo, Woods, and Exile as well. As with these long straights and these very long braking zones as well, you can misjudge your braking every now and again, can't you? And I think that's why we did see a lot of bumping going on. As we've also got coming down to the mini stadium sector as well, then between Ghost and Exile. As of course, this is quite ironic there because Exile took over from Ghost's position there, didn't he? But now he's back fighting the fight from the outside there. Lovely shot here from Woods' nose cone there as he's going on the outside of Gordo. Gordo is trying to defend there, and I think Gordo did a really good job of defending actually to maybe not, but Gordo was doing a good job of defending there, and unfortunately, it got a bit too close for comfort. But up until that point, he was doing a great job of defending on the outside. And same with and Cart. I've got to say, Cart was my driver of the day on that occasion. How he kept those hard tires going for those amount of laps was brilliant. And this was where Gurman now took. I think that was his final race win of the season, wasn't it, for Gurman? But that was where Haas also won the Constructors World Championships as well. And Haas absolutely dominated that season. They were really impressive stuff indeed then between Liam and Gurman as well. Troy in third position now. Troy was also really shining in the final stage of the season. Well, I'm looking forward to see what Troy can do next season. I think he's a championship contender, that is for sure. Then Potato in fourth position now. Murphy getting fifth in the end. Then Serge Mushroom once again in the points, and I think he's been in the points in every single Grand Prix that we've done in this review. Fantastic stuff indeed then from Serge Mushroom now. Exile in seventh position now. Mike getting some valuable points for Williams, and that put him in front of McLaren with just 2 races to go then as well. I quite enjoy the constructors, and I'm not sure if everyone thinks it's the most important thing in the world, but I certainly do. Cart in a 10th position as well, as we mentioned. He'd done 2 stops, but he had to go in early on after his car was trying to take off in the back straight in the second DRS zone there and damaging his car unfortunately. But Cart did a very good job indeed then. And there's Haas then confirmed as the constructors champions. Good stuff indeed then. In the drivers' table as well, and Gurman has now got a 28-point lead over Murphy there, and that put him in prime position there for maybe the title in the next race in Brazil. And also we got the Haas team then, who were confirmed the constructors champions as well. So good stuff indeed then. But of course, unfortunately, I don't think it went too well for Gurman in Brazil, as he had a puncture late on then. So that is it then. This is the final race of the season here in Abu Dhabi as well. And as the action is going to take place, both riders done a great job, by the way. Nolsey, what is your take of the season in Silver overall? And I forgot to say before you do, it rained in Abu Dhabi as well, which I got to say really threw a curveball in there. As I wasn't expecting rain in Abu Dhabi, but apologies, Nolsey, I'll cut you off there. What do you think about the season as a whole in Silver?
I think it's been another fantastic season. I think last season Silver was a great league to watch. It provided some really entertaining racing as well. Clean racing as per usual in Silver. And I think they sort of cracked on with it in this season as well. Adapted to the new game really well. Most of the guys who come up, the guys who've come in from reserve or from signing up through the website or signing up through somebody they know, etc. Then they've all done a great job of getting in and getting used to their colleagues in the other cars. And I think overall, as this race sort of caps it, it's been one of those seasons that's been all over the place. We've got rain in Abu Dhabi, for Christ's sake. So so it's been we don't know who's going to be finishing where in Silver. It's one of those ones that you turn up to a track and one driver can do really well, and the other driver who did really well last week isn't going to do so well and score less points. So and we've seen that with a number of people who won races, who've been on the podiums and things like that in this division this season. So I think it just shows that everyone's done a great job in silver this season, and I think hopefully it will carry on next season as well.
Indeed, then we got a bit fraught after the safety car around here, but I did put that down to the rain, and I couldn't believe it was raining in Abu Dhabi. I remember all the fans chatting to me in the comment section on YouTube, and I thought that they was taking the mickey, to be honest, but it wasn't going to rain. But I was absolutely taken back by this, and I think a lot of drivers would have been as well, which I think does put down to some of the incidents that we're seeing. And it is very difficult to race on a track where where you don't expect it to rain, and you probably haven't done it literally next to no practice at all. Maybe a race like Austria or even Spa, where you expect rain 50% of the time, you probably be practicing the rain, but you wouldn't have been doing it here. That is a factor, I think. As I was just watching there, Troy getting very interested in the Ferrari as well. Now this was getting very interesting with 10 laps to go. I was loving this. This was an absolutely brilliant showdown, and as Nosey mentioned, he wasn't sure what was going to happen every time he turned up to silver. It was brilliant, wasn't it? Absolutely, it was a perfect example of drama and anticipation there towards the end of the season. Gurman could have won the title. Back in Japan of round 18, and it just kept swinging back around. Gurman was struggling to get this title wrapped up there. Remember that Gurman, up until this point, especially in the mid-season, was absolutely dominating. We're on board with Gurman now, and of course, as he is coming through turn 19, and this really changed the face of the race. So I got on the accelerator and crashed into the barrier there, and that caused, well, I got to say, I was absolutely apoplectic. It's this stage. I don't know what that word is anyway. But I was absolutely up in arms at this stage because it's really transformed the race there. Itchy was taking the lead, took the lead of this Grand Prix as well. Remember back in Australia when we first started this season review, Williams, I think it was Payne's there, it was really good. Was absolutely fantastic, and that was the last time that Williams was on the podium. In the top end of the points there, Itchy was really strong at this stage of the season as well. Murphy had to finish, if I'm not very much mistaken. I'm sure he had to finish in third position. He was 14 points behind at this stage there, and the pressure is running truly on there. Nosey, how would have Murphy felt at this stage then, knowing that he's got to get into third position with his championship rival out of the race?
Well, there's nothing to think about really. He's just got to get on with it and go for it. I think the conditions weren't helping, of course. I don't know why. Well, obviously the safety car's coming out now, so that might play some factor in the later stages of this race. But the conditions, I was just amazed when this race was being streamed, because I was like, I've never seen this before, and I thought that Dan, being the admin for silver, being the one who sets the grid up, or sets the lobby up, sorry. I thought he'd just change it to wet weather just to have a laugh, but I was amazed when all this started happening. But yeah, when you've got to finish in a certain place to gain a spot or win a championship, you just got to focus on your own race pace and make sure that you've got the speed over the people that you need to overtake. And most of the guys who were battling in this race, there were a few incidents which were pretty much down to the conditions, I think. But yeah, I think Dan, of course, took the fight to the very end. Gurman didn't help himself, I don't think, because the last couple of races he didn't, previous to this race including, he didn't do that well in terms of point scoring, of course. But yeah, I think everybody deserves a shout out for this season who's been in silver, and everyone's done a great job to make it a great league.
Really is indeed, and that was fantastic, wasn't it? What a way to end it. Itchy win that race one. I think that in the end, then the silver approximately had 6 new winners this season as well. Absolutely brilliant stuff indeed. Then Itchy there winning his first race of his career as well. Serious Mushroom was so close to winning his second career race after that incredible race in Japan. And Kingdom get on the podium as well in the Mercedes, and good stuff indeed. His teammate Troy in a strong fourth there. Murphy is about 5 seconds away from being crowned the silver world champion. So close yet so far. Gordo just round out a brilliant season, and we've seen a familiar name with F1 2019 returning back to the league as well in silver, which is really good to see that. I'm looking forward to seeing what F1 2019 can do in the coming season then, because he was a very quick customer, wasn't he, in the Silver's start of Silver's journey, wasn't he, back in Russia for the first couple of races last season as well. Then through taking a look down, then both Ferraris, I'd be disappointed then after they were second and third on the grid then, but those conditions there were absolutely mega for me. I loved it. And this is the final classification then for the bronze championship championship. Then German won by 5 points then from Murphy there. Unfortunately, Woods, Frisky Biscuits, and WBR has all been relegated. Then F1 2019 getting out of the relegation zone there. And the constructors then, Haas have won this as well then. And up next then is the awards then for silver then. Enjoy.